Hey guys, Terrence from Chargeback Forward here. Before we get to this new episode, I have an announcement to make. In a few weeks, Big Mike and I will be doing a Q&A episode. That's right guys, your questions, our answers. It's going to be epic. So send your questions to the comments below, PM us on YouTube, hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, fuck, even send a picture on Instagram. That would be legit. Guys, this episode is crazy. This is the first time that we're doing a Chargeback Forward episode where I wasn't there to film it. So this is Big Mike solo, so the first time that I saw the footage that you're going to see is when I was editing. Oh my god. You're in for a treat. So since this is Big Mike solo, sit back, relax, grab yourself a Coke Zero, and enjoy.
Hi everyone, Big Mike from Chargeback Forward here. Now, anyone who's been watching the show for a period of time has realized that Chargeback Forward is not necessarily a review show at all. We're more of a show that concentrates on video game culture, collecting, and basically Terrence and I acting like goofs in front of the camera whenever we get a chance. But over the past little while, I have received multiple requests via our Facebook or our own YouTube account from people asking me to do a review or at least a video on my thoughts on Resident Evil 6. Seems Resident Evil 6 is a focus of quite a bit of controversy right now, and after playing through Resident Evil 6 completely, I have realized a few things. One is, many of those reviewers who reviewed the game, both professional and user reviews, I firmly believe did not even really play the game, either based the reviews off the demo or played a few minutes of it and that was it. Now, I will justify that in a minute, but let's talk about the most important thing, is why you're probably watching this, the game itself. So to qualify myself to do this review, as I firmly believe you should always be qualified to do what you do, is I have been playing survival horror years before it was even called survival horror. I guess technically my first experience was playing Alone in the Dark on the 3DO, and then after that, when Resident Evil came out, I bought the original Resident Evil, my original copy right here. Time is taking its toll, on launch day back in '96, and since then I have played and finished every single major Resident Evil title and side game, with the exception of a couple. I fully admit I have not finished the Capcom or the Game Boy versions, but that's pretty much it. All the other ones played and finished. So when people ask me, because they know I am a Resident Evil fan, I've been paying attention to the series since day one, they always ask, Big Mike, what are your favorite Resident Evil games? And I always say these three titles. I say the GameCube remake of the original, and that is because the massive amount of terror that game instills in me to this day. Like, there have been multiple times where I drop the controller. Like, in my definition of a scary as hell game, that fits the bill perfectly, with the lighting, the sound, the dark corners, and everything about that game. Number two is always Code Veronica. And the reason for that is its incredible storytelling ability. That game had a phenomenal story and a great way of telling it, and the whole moment where you're playing as Claire for most of the game, and then it switches over when you're playing Chris partway through, like, just brilliantly done. And number three is always Resident Evil 4, and that is because that was like the technical breakthrough for the series. That was a game that has gone on to influence countless games to this day. And as one writer said years ago, and I always love this statement, so I'm going to copy it and pretend it's my own, they said it's a next generation game running on a current generation console. And that is the best way to describe Resident Evil 4. So now with Resident Evil 6, it's actually separated into multiple campaigns. One of the campaigns, the Leon and Helena campaign, is more like your traditional survival horror, filled with scary moments, like, you know, like the cheap scares that Resident Evil is famous for, like, you know, you're walking down something that's really, really quiet, and bang! Scares the shit out of you. So it does it well. Anyone who's played, like, even the first mission alone in Ivy University knows that. You're walking down hallways, and there's times where there's literally nothing going on, but your brain doesn't know that. You're sneaking around corners and looking around, and it's pure survival horror. And that campaign also has plenty of puzzle solving as well, like the original Resident Evil. Mind you, the puzzles are not as complicated as the original Resident Evil, but they're there. The other campaign with Chris and Piers is more of the survival action, very similar to Resident Evil 5, where it's pretty much non-stop Doesn't really give you a moment to catch your breath at all. You're pretty much on edge for the entire campaign, and even when you take out an entire room or kill some giant beast that almost, completely obliterates you, they give you like literally a few seconds to turn around another corner before you're assaulted again. The other campaign, the Sherry and Jake campaign, is a bit of a mix of both, but I would say it feels to me more like Resident Evil 3. And what I mean by that is, with, again, no spoilers, let's put it this way. Remember Resident Evil 3, the Nemesis is constantly chasing you, and, well, in the Jake and Sherry campaign, you're being chased by something big most of the time. And then after that, oh wait, I promised no spoilers during my review, so let's put it this way. This is all I'm going to say. After you finish all 3 campaigns, it ain't over. There's more to go. So, a ton of content, by the way, which each chapter taking roughly, an hour to 2 hours to beat, depending on your skill level or difficulty level. That's a lot of content for just the single player part of the game, which the game does have multiplayer built into it, like with Agent Hunt and whatnot. But for guys like me, and anyone who knows me knows, and this is no offense to any multiplayers out there, I personally do not give a crap about multiplayer at all. So I'm glad to see they injected so much content into the single player. Now, so that covers like kind of survival horror from the original Resident Evil and Resident Evil 5 and all that. So it's basically taken the best of all worlds and put them together. Now, with the technical aspect, yes, the game is absolutely gorgeous. The lighting, the sound, the music, wow, wait till you hear like some of the music in this game. It's all top-notch. It's definitely an example of a game that you can tell is at the end of this generation's console life, because a game like this wouldn't have been possible on the system, 5 years ago on PlayStation 3 or the 360, whatever you happen to be playing it on. Okay, so that covers survival horror and the technical aspect. Now, the one thing I loved, like I said, about Code Veronica was the amazing storytelling. And man, do they nail storytelling in Resident Evil 6. I don't think people give Resident Evil enough credit for its storytelling ability. They remember the cheesy lines from the original PlayStation versions. Everyone, I'm not going to bother saying them, but everyone knows them. But below all the cheesy voice acting, there was a great story taking place there, and it's a continuing on, and Resident Evil 6 brings them all together. And it's pretty much like everyone's demanding more out of their games these days, and especially in terms of storytelling. And they just absolutely nailed it with this. Every campaign links up, crosses over. For guys like me and you, if you've concentrated fully on the Resident Evil story and know it inside and out, and know every character and every scenario and every company, this is complete fan service for guys like us. Like, they've really just kind of handed us this entire Resident Evil universe on a silver platter for us to enjoy. Now, that being said, actually, here, let me show you. So I've got, just so you know what I played it on, to prove that I actually played it, Resident Evil 6 on the 360, and, this is the version I played for this review. I also, bought the Asian import version as well, but the North American version is the one I played for this. Now, that being said, so in short, I'll make this a very quick review, but it's because it's more of my thoughts. In short, yes, I thought Resident Evil 6 was absolutely phenomenal. It's not without its faults, to show that I'm not completely just gushing over this. It does have a couple problems. Number one is, one thing I always enjoyed about the original Resident Evils was the exploring, where especially in the first one, where you have to, different keys to different areas and different puzzles in different areas and backtracking and whatnot, and you got to go through the same hallway again, and this time something different's going to happen. That has been, to a certain extent, taken out of Resident Evil 6, and it started way back in 5 and a little bit in 4 as well, where the game is now, it's very point A to point B with things to explore on the side as you're going to point B. And even like the puzzles, as I mentioned earlier, they're there, not nearly as complicated as the first Resident Evil especially. Remember the painting puzzle, which I always loved? There's a few things in there like that, but they're pretty simple. I don't think anyone will have too much trouble with them. Okay, so I gave a brief little thoughts on the game and why I enjoyed it so much. But I'm sure a lot of you are saying, but Mike, the reviews on day one, these reviewers, not all of them, but most of them, were butchering it, and then magically user reviews showed up 2 seconds after, almost repeating the exact same thing. How is this possible? How could this game be so good when everyone's trashing it so much? Here's my theory. Number one is, I understand right now, Capcom is public enemy #1 with their DLC on the disc content, what they've been doing. And here's the deal. First of all, I'm not defending them in any way, but just to give you a bit of history lesson, they're not the only ones doing it, and they're not the first ones to start. Believe me, when you're downloading games or DLC on your for your games years ago, and you're downloading new characters or new maps, and did you ever think to wonder why some of those downloads were only like 100K? Yeah, it's just a line of code to unlock the data on the disc. So I'm not saying it's right. Believe me, I'm not saying it's right. And myself and Terrence will do a video on that later on our whole opinion on that process. But let's put it this way. They're not the only ones doing it. So, that being said, if they are public enemy #1 and people are shaking their fists in the air over the DLC or over their cancellation of Mega Man Legends 3, I firmly believe they're taking it out on Capcom themselves with this is their big game. Like, this is their biggest game of the year and probably the biggest game they're going to have over the next year or so. This is their huge title. So what better way to get revenge on the man by destroying a title that they spent so much time and money on? And that's not right, because here's the deal. The games themselves, like, they're made by a huge team of artists, writers, engineers, programmers, voice talent. They're literally, at this point now with games these days, you know, hundreds of people working on their ass off on a game, artistically and whatnot. They do not make the business decisions that head office makes. The guy who designed the Helena character, drew her, and did the polygon models and whatnot, it wasn't his decision to put DLC on the disc. So the fact that people are taking it out on a game is not right at all. If you've got a problem with the company, take it out on the actual company, not the artist behind the scenes. It's like going to a, I don't know, I'll use a reference here, going to a store and yelling at the person behind the counter ringing something in because there's something you don't like about the store. That person is just ringing your item in. They did not make any of these decisions that you're not happy about. So the hate train started with this game with reviewers, and I will go to the point I said earlier, after reading through the reviews now, that after I have completely gone through the game, unlike I believe a lot of these guys, I can firmly say, not all of them, but I believe most of them did not even play the game all the way through, maybe only played a couple chapters, or worse yet, I firmly believe some of these guys actually based the reviews off the demo. Now the user reviews, which I've done a rant on already, and by the way, I've done rants on video game critics before, and I promised I wouldn't do it again, but now you can tell by my emotion here, I've had it with these guys. They're doing more damage to the industry than ever thought possible. So these user reviews, which I've gone on before, saying, and I know people who watch Chargeback Forward especially are not like this, so I know I'm not insulting anyone out there because you guys have messaged me and stayed in contact and we talk all the time and I know what kind of viewers we have, so thumbs up to you guys. But you'll see a review come out trashing a game and automatically your user reviews start showing up on Amazon or other sites basically mimicking those reviews. So those are obviously people who didn't even play the game, they're just reading that review and writing and said, you know what, I'm going to jump on this hate train, I'm going to say this game sucks even though I never played it. And these reviews are coming from, I'm not going to say them by name, but you guys will know who they are. And if this ruins our chances from ever being on that site, then so be it. But these are reviews coming from the same guy or company who gave Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS a bad review because it had no original content, and yet gave Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 like a 9.5 out of 10, called it the most brilliant thing ever. And I'm not hating on Call of Duty, I'm just saying that for a review to have validity, you gotta have consistency. And you learn, I don't know about other schools, but in Canadian schools I can speak for, when you take English, you learn how to write a proper review in grade 9. It's opinion, fact, opinion, fact. I have given my opinions and then stated them with facts during this review, so I know exactly how to do it. And some people might say, well listen, these video game reviewers are under a lot of pressure, you know, they gotta write reviews and they gotta do this and gotta do that. You know what? They've caught movie reviewers doing this too, where they didn't even see a movie, they just took someone else's review and rewrote it themselves because they didn't want to watch the movie. And I firmly believe that's happening with game reviews right now. So I got a message out there to all the game reviewers who are doing that action, just rewriting someone else's review because you don't have time, or the pressure's too much, or you can't meet the deadline. Tough luck. You know what? I guess you found out that working in this industry isn't all that fun, is it? It's not eating Doritos and jerking off and playing games all day like you thought it was, did you? It's the real fucking world, and if you can't cut it, then get out and let someone else who can. Because then maybe, just maybe, we can reinstate a little bit of dignity back to video game media and reviews. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I got a bit emotional there, but I'll continue to do so. I firmly stand behind my opinion of Resident Evil 6, and here's what I tell people, and I never do this on review, and I never will. I never tell anyone, run out and buy it right now, or run out and don't buy it. I will never say either of those two things. The one thing I always say is get out there and try it for yourself. Please, from the bottom of my heart, listen to me, never let a critic's review either influence your purchase or non-purchase of a title. Please play it for yourself. Everyone's opinion is different, and I'm sure, listen, I'm sure there's people out there who have played Resident Evil 6 and really don't like it. Great. You know what's good about that? Because they actually freaking played it. They didn't just copy someone's review. So, in short, Big Mike's opinion, Resident Evil 6, phenomenal. It's brought everything that I love about Resident Evil together, not without its faults, a few things missing that I would love to have had in there, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I thoroughly played all the way through it. And I really hope you guys do the same. So thank you very much. If you like the style of review, please let me know. If you hate it, let me know as well. I'm sure I'm going to get a bunch of hate mail from this one. But either way, Chargeback Forward, follow me and Terrence on Facebook, our personal Facebooks, our Chargeback Forward Facebook, our Twitter, Instagram. It's all there. It's all down in the links. You know what to do. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. Thank you. Just a quick sound and lighting test. See how it looks, see how it sounds. I'll be speaking at this volume with this light. Do I need to add more lights? Let's find out. Ah! Fuck! Christ! Because a game like this wouldn't have been possible on the system, you know, 5 years ago on PlayStation 3 or the 360, whatever you happen to be playing it on.